Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I'm the driver of this session. We're doing chapter 9 and I'm with my navigator. Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindo. I'll be the navigator of today's session.
You. So here guys, let's continue. So in this chapter we're talking about chapter 9. We learned about objects, constructors and all that. So let's start with the first page that I learned is that in Java we create objects to help our program to do things, but when we are done using an object, we need to stop using it so the computer can clean it up and free up the memory. We don't need to remove it by ourselves, but Java has something called garbage collector that does that for you. So in this chapter we learned how objects are made and where they are stored and how to manage them so our project runs well. And another thing that we learned is methods that are stacked. What is a stack called? A stack is when you call a method in Java. So it goes on to something called the call stack. The call stack keeps track of which method is running and stores the local variables for each method. Then the method at the top of the stack is the one currently running. When a method finishes, it removes or pops from the stack and goes back to the previous method. So we have do stuff here. We have our example do stuff and it's called first and added to the stack. Then it calls go for, which is added on top of do stuff. Inside go, a new variable is created and then it calls another method called crazy, which is added to the stack too. So these are like inner methods because one method calls another while it's running. So Java adds the inner method to the top of the stack so that it can be remembered. Now without wasting time, let's go to the exercise. So in this exercise, they say our challenge is to find the object that is the most popular and the one that has the most reference variables linked to it. Then list how many total reference they are for that object and what they are. We'll start it by pointing out on the new objects. So as you can see, I have the code and it is in my IntelliJ. Also, I have honey.java, right? And I have the classes, which are the references. So I have class, which is class B, class beer, and class kid, and class Ricken. And that was my challenge. I put everything in one file. And these are for the bees, these are for the beers, these are for the kids, these are for the raccoons. And that's how my method is. I also declared a new object here and I assigned it to new honey, which is honeypot, 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 and all that. Then I have public static void. When I run it, it is not showing nothing. It's not gonna show nothing because the challenge was just what you call it, to find the object that is the most popular and the one that has the most reference variables referring to it. So as you can see, I found it. I have honey. It's just I have honey and all that. See, nothing is popping up here. So I have honey, everything. Now I just want to test something before I can go further with this thing. Let's play this. No man, there's something wrong here. Oh, there is a quick quack is 42. So yeah, my terminal is working fine and I have 247 and yeah, honey.java. Inside my honey.java, I have beer, I have bees, I have honey, I have kid, I have raccoons. So as you can see here, I have this. Inside of this, I have bees, I have kid, I have raccoons. So let's see when I play this whole thing, what do I get? I get nothing. Still get nothing. Yeah, I think that was the main thing, just to set the code and refactor it and see which variables do the most, are popular in the objects and all that. And yeah, now we go to local variables that are objects. What about them? A local variable is a reference variable that points to an object, and the variable itself is stored in a local area called the stack. But the actual object points to, it's stored somewhere else called the heap. So even if the reference variable is created inside a method, meaning it lives temporarily on the stack, the object points to always stay in the heap. So if local variables live on the stack, where do the instance variable live? If local variables live on the stack, instances variables like x, int, and y live on the heap inside the cell phone object they belong to. When you create a new cell phone object using new cell phone, Java allocates space on the heap to store those primitive instance variable. For non-primitive instance variables like reference variable and of type antenna, space for the reference is allocated inside the cell phone object, but the actual antenna object is only created on the heap when you assign it explicitly, for example with end and new end. Yeah, now we must know what is a constructor before I end this vid. Now a constructor is a special method in a class that is automatically called when an object is created. So the main purpose of a constructor is to initialize the new object. Unlike regular methods, a constructor does not have a return type, not even void, which is one of its ways to differ from a method. So the key feature of a constructor is that it runs before the object is assigned to a reference variable. This gives you a chance to run the code that sets up or prepares the object immediately and after memory is allocated. In other words, before anyone can use the object, the constructor ensures it's ready for use. And yeah, thank you for viewing my YouTube channel, and I hope you learned something from this vid.